When a man truly likes you, he becomes curious about your inner world, and I want you to really hear this, because too many of you have been conditioned to believe that a man's attention to your appearance is the highest form of validation, when in reality, it is the easiest and the least meaningful. When a man is genuinely drawn to you, he wants to know the parts of you that are not put on display, the layers beneath the smile, the thoughts behind the moments you go quiet, the experiences that shaped you into the woman standing in front of him today. And I want you to understand how powerful that is, because curiosity is a form of investment, and when a man is invested, he doesn't settle for the surface. He dives deeper, he explores, he listens, and he pays attention in ways that make you feel seen instead of simply admired. There is a profound difference between a man who compliments your beauty and a man who notices your silence, who hears the cracks in your voice, who asks about your day because he genuinely cares about the answer, not because he is filling the space with noise. When a man likes you, he becomes attentive in ways you didn't even expect, and his questions begin to reveal how much he is studying you, not out of control or obsession, but out of genuine interest, out of a desire to understand the essence of you. He wants to know your values, your fears, your dreams, what makes you laugh so hard you forget every worry, and what makes you retreat into yourself when the world gets heavy. He pays attention to your habits, the way you hold your coffee cup, the way your eyes brighten when you talk about something you love, the way you look away when you're uncomfortable, because your inner world becomes a map he wants to navigate with patience and respect. And I am telling you this because so many women settle for men who never ask about their hearts, only their bodies, men who admire their face but ignore their soul. I want you to recognize the difference between lust and curiosity, between temporary attention and emotional depth, because these differences determine the entire direction of your experience with a man. A man who only likes what he sees asks shallow questions. He stays comfortable in the easy parts. He keeps everything light because he doesn't intend to invest anything heavy. But a man who genuinely likes you leans into depth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it requires vulnerability, even when it requires him to show a side of himself he hasn't shown anyone in a long time. When a man cares, he doesn't just ask what you are doing, he asks how you are feeling. He doesn't just ask where you went, he asks what it meant to you. He doesn't just ask what happened, he asks how it affected you. He is not satisfied with the polished version of your story, he wants the truth, the rawness, the unfiltered edges of your experience, because he wants to connect with you on a level that goes beyond physical attraction. And you must understand, no man goes this deep unless something in you has awakened something in him. Something real, something sincere, something that makes him want to understand your world instead of just visiting it. And here is the part I want you to embrace with your whole heart. A man's curiosity about you is a reflection of the value he sees in you, because people do not invest emotionally in what they do not respect. When a man cares, your thoughts matter to him, your opinions influence him, your emotions affect him, and your presence shifts something inside him. He doesn't just want to know who you are today, he wants to know who you are becoming, and he wants to understand where your heart has been so he can show you where it could go. He studies your patterns not to manipulate you, but to support you. He wants to know what brings you peace so he can be part of it, and what brings you pain so he can avoid being another source of it. And you must not overlook this kind of interest, because it is rare, it is meaningful, and it is the foundation of the kind of connection that grows stronger over time instead of fading after the excitement wears off. When a man truly likes you, he doesn't make you guess, because curiosity cannot be hidden. It shows up in the way he listens, the way he follows up, the way he remembers things you forgot you mentioned, the way he asks questions that show he is not trying to impress you, but trying to understand you. And I want you to carry this truth with you. If you find yourself constantly trying to convince a man to care, constantly trying to make him ask questions, constantly trying to draw his attention deeper, then that is your sign that he is not the one who sees you. Because when a man truly likes you, he seeks you. He seeks your mind, your heart, your emotional world, your soul. And you never have to beg for curiosity from a man who is genuinely connected to your essence. When someone is genuinely interested in you, Their effort becomes the clearest language they speak, and I want you to understand this with your whole heart. Because too many of you have been taught to interpret words instead of actions, promises instead of patterns, and potential instead of reality. When a man truly cares, he does not leave you floating in uncertainty, he does not give you half attention, and he does not offer you the bare minimum while expecting your whole heart in return. Effort is not something you should beg for, negotiate for, or endlessly wait for, because real interest reveals itself through consistent action, not confusing sentences, not mixed signals, and not emotional crumbs that keep you hoping for more. You deserve to be with someone whose actions make you feel secure, not someone whose inconsistency makes you question your worth every night. And I want you to hear this because it is time to stop glorifying men who occasionally show affection but never commit to consistency. Anyone can say they like you, anyone can send a sweet message once in a while, anyone can make you feel special for a moment, but a man who is truly invested will make you feel valued through days, weeks, months, and even the moments when life gets busy. Effort is not grand gestures, it is not dramatic declarations, it is the quiet, steady, reliable presence that shows you he is thinking about you even when you are not standing in front of him. And here is what I want you to recognize. When a man is genuinely into you, he finds a way because effort is not about convenience, it is about priority. If you are important to him, he will not disappear. He will not ghost you. He will not show up one day with intensity and vanish the next with excuses. He will make time. He will follow through. He will stay connected because a man's effort reflects where his heart is resting. And you must stop giving the benefit of the doubt to men whose actions contradict their words, because confusion is not a sign of love. It is a sign of emotional unavailability. Effort looks like consistency. Effort looks like communication. Effort looks like checking in because he values your peace of mind, not because he is bored. Effort looks like planning time with you instead of leaving everything to chance. Effort looks like remembering what matters to you, not because he is trying to impress you, but because he genuinely cares. And I want you to understand this deeply because sometimes you've been conditioned to accept the smallest gestures as proof of interest, when in reality, they are simply emotional leftovers. When someone truly likes you, you don't have to analyze every message, decode every moment, or seek signs that aren't there, because the truth becomes obvious. You have probably been in situations where you convinced yourself that his inconsistency was a sign of him being busy, where his lack of communication meant he was shy, where his emotional distance meant he needed time. And yet, deep down, you felt something was off. That voice inside you, the one you keep silencing, is the voice that knows your value. It is the voice that understands that love should not feel like uncertainty, that interest should not feel like a puzzle, that affection should not feel like something you must earn. When someone truly wants you, their effort does not fluctuate based on mood, convenience, or distraction. Their effort becomes a reflection of their character, and character does not shift without reason. And I need you to embrace this truth, because the moment you stop accepting inconsistency is the moment your life changes. When you begin to honor your emotional needs, when you start valuing your peace over your craving for affection, when you start recognizing that confusion is not chemistry, you open the door for real, steady, meaningful connection. A man who truly likes you chooses you with clarity, not hesitation. He doesn't keep you waiting for replies. He doesn't resurface when he feels lonely. He doesn't treat you as an option while expecting you to treat him like a priority. He gives effort because he knows that effort is the bridge that builds trust. And I want to speak to you directly now. You are not too much for the right person. You are not asking for too much by wanting consistency. You are not unreasonable for expecting communication. You are not dramatic for wanting clarity. You are simply a woman who understands that real connection requires real effort, and that your heart is too precious to be handled by someone who doesn't know how to show up. If you are chasing effort, it is not real. If you are waiting for effort, it is not real. If you are begging for effort, it is not real. Real effort arrives on its own, unforced, steady, clear. When someone truly likes you, their effort will never be something you have to search for. It will be something you feel every day through presence, through consistency, and through the quiet reassurance that you matter to them without having to prove your worth. When a man truly sees your worth, something shifts inside him, and I want you to understand this deeply, because so many of you have lowered your standards just to keep someone who never deserved access to you in the first place. When a man is genuinely drawn to your spirit, your energy, and your presence, he doesn't want to stay where he is. He wants to rise. He wants to become someone who is worthy of the place you hold in his life, and that desire is not forced by you. It is awakened by the version of you that knows her value. A man who feels genuine attraction toward a woman's depth does not fear her standards. He respects them, because those standards show him that getting close to you is not something he can take lightly. And I want you to hear this, because it is one of the biggest truths you need to know. Real attraction does not pull a man down into laziness, excuses, or inconsistency. Real attraction inspires him to grow. The right woman makes a man look at himself differently, not because she criticizes him, but because being in her presence reminds him of the man he wants to become. When he sees your strength, your kindness, your integrity, your emotional depth, your maturity, he becomes aware that staying stagnant might cost him someone extraordinary. And that awareness becomes his motivation. Not pressure, not fear, motivation. When a man truly likes you, he begins to think about how he shows up. He becomes conscious of his words, his actions, his habits, and the way he handles your emotions. He may not be perfect, he may not get everything right, but you will see effort. You will see adjustment. You will see growth, even if it is small, because your presence in his life awakens something inside him that wants to be better. And that is something you cannot force on anyone. You cannot inspire growth in a man who does not see your worth. You cannot inspire respect in someone who never valued you. You cannot inspire loyalty in a man who only came for convenience. True transformation happens only when a man recognizes that losing you would be losing something rare. Too many women try to fix men. Too many women try to build men from scratch. Too many women try to be the emotional backbone for men who are not even emotionally present. And that is where your heart gets broken. Not because you expected too much, but because you expected it from someone who was never willing to rise. A man rises not when you push him, but when your value makes him want to rise on his own. Your standards do not chase good men away. They filter out the ones who were never going to stay. And I want you to think about how powerful that is. If a man steps up for you, it is because he sees something in you that he cannot afford to lose. If he becomes consistent, it is because he recognizes your emotional safety is sacred. If he begins to communicate openly, it is because he understands that honesty is the only way to keep someone like you close. If he becomes more responsible, more intentional, more thoughtful, it is because your presence elevates him. You don't force this transformation, you inspire it simply by being a woman with self-respect, self-worth, and emotional boundaries. A man who genuinely wants you will never try to lower your standards to fit his comfort. He will elevate himself to meet the level of value he sees in you. He will stop playing games, not because you begged him, but because he knows games are the quickest way to lose someone serious. He will stop being inconsistent, not because you demanded consistency, but because he understands that consistency is the foundation of trust with a woman like you. He will stop avoiding emotional responsibility, not because you lectured him, but because he knows that your heart is the kind of heart a man must protect, not damage. And I want you to remember this. A man's willingness to rise is not measured by how much he talks, but by how much he transforms. You will see it in the way he starts to plan. You will see it in the way he follows through. You will see it in the way he takes accountability for his mistakes. You will see it in the way he adjusts instead of arguing. You will see it in the way he becomes more grounded, more stable, more present, because being with you requires emotional maturity. And if he truly wants you, he will grow into that maturity. You must stop shrinking yourself to make it easier for someone who refuses to grow. You must stop accepting the bare minimum just because you're afraid of losing someone who isn't even afraid of losing you. The man who is meant for you will rise to meet you, not because you demanded it, but because he recognizes that your value demands a certain kind of man. And he wants to be that man, not for the world, not for anyone else, for you. When a man is right for you, he will never leave you in emotional uncertainty And I want you to feel the weight of that truth, because too many of you have confused chaos with passion, inconsistency with mystery, and emotional imbalance with chemistry. Uncertainty is not a sign of love. It is a sign of a man who has not made a decision about you. And you should never build your emotional life around someone who is still unsure whether he wants to show up. When a man truly cares, his presence becomes steady, his effort becomes predictable, and his intentions become clear, because real interest does not hide itself behind mixed signals. Real interest does not make you guess. Real interest does not make you anxious. You have spent too many nights questioning yourself, wondering what you did wrong, replaying conversations, trying to interpret meaningless behavior, and overthinking messages that were never meant to mean anything. That emotional exhaustion you feel does not come from love, it comes from confusion. And confusion is created by someone who doesn't care enough to provide clarity. When a man values your emotional well-being, he makes it a priority to eliminate confusion. He communicates openly, he stays consistent, he shows up without making you beg. He doesn't disappear when things get serious, and he doesn't reappear only when it suits him. Real affection is not something you have to chase. It is not something you must pull out of someone. It is not something you must earn through overgiving, overloving, or overstaying in a place that drains you. When someone truly wants you, they do the work. They reach out. They explain themselves. They correct their mistakes. They make intentions known. They reassure instead of destabilize. They take away your doubt instead of feeding it. And I need you to understand this, because emotional uncertainty is not only painful, it is addictive. It keeps you hooked. It keeps you waiting for the next moment of attention. It keeps you desperate for the next wave of affection. You start living off emotional scraps, convincing yourself that the little he gives is enough, because you're afraid the alternative is having nothing. But the truth is, you deserve better than inconsistent affection. You deserve better than a man who gives you highs and lows instead of stability. You deserve better than someone who keeps you in a state of emotional guessing while he enjoys the privilege of your loyalty. When a man truly likes you, he protects your heart, not plays with it. He understands that your emotional safety is valuable, and he treats it with respect. He gives clarity because he knows that uncertainty breeds insecurity. He gives consistency because he knows that effort is what trust grows from. And he gives honesty because he knows that your heart is too precious to be handled with half-truths and excuses. When someone is serious about you, they don't want you confused, they want you comfortable. They don't want you anxious, they want you assured. They don't want you questioning, they want you knowing. And here is what I want you to deeply accept. A man who loves the idea of you, but not the responsibility of you, will keep you confused. He will say just enough to keep you close, but never enough to make you feel secure. He will show affection when it suits him, but vanish when you need stability. He will give you emotional highs so intense they make the lows feel like your fault. That roller coaster is not love. That roller coaster is emotional manipulation, and you deserve more than being someone's temporary emotional entertainment. When a man genuinely wants you, he won't make you chase understanding. He will give it to you freely. He won't make you decode his behavior. He will make his intentions known. He won't make you feel like a backup plan. He will make you feel chosen, not through grand words, but through daily actions that align with the way he talks about you. You should never have to sit alone wondering what you mean to someone who claims to care. You should never have to live in emotional limbo, hoping that one day he will finally decide to prioritize you. You are not meant to tolerate uncertainty. You are meant to experience love that is stable, grounded, and emotionally safe. A love where you don't have to overthink every message. A love where you don't have to question every silence. A love where you are not constantly worried about ruining something simply by expressing your needs. The right man will remove uncertainty, not create it. He will bring peace to your life, not chaos. He will meet your emotional needs, not dismiss them. So if you are living in confusion right now, if you are clinging to someone who keeps you guessing, if you are holding on to a man who cannot give you clarity, then hear this truth: the right man will never make you feel like this. The right man will not let you drown in uncertainty. The right man will give you the stability, consistency, and clarity that you have always deserved. And when you finally meet him, You will realize that all the confusion you tolerated before was never love. It was merely the absence of someone who was meant for you. Your self-value determines the quality of the love you attract, and I want you to feel this truth deeply, because everything in your romantic life shifts the moment you understand that the way you treat yourself sets the standard for how others will treat you. So many of you have been giving your heart away to men who have not earned the right to hold it. Not because you don't deserve better, but because somewhere along the way you forgot your worth. When you undervalue yourself, you accept attention instead of intention, inconsistency instead of effort, and temporary affection instead of real commitment. But when you finally recognize your value, the entire energy of your relationships changes because you stop entertaining anything that does not honor your heart. Your self-value is not about arrogance, it is about clarity. The clarity of knowing what kind of love you deserve, what kind of effort you require, and what kind of treatment you will no longer allow. When you truly know your worth, you stop begging for the bare minimum from someone who is capable of giving so little. You stop chasing men who don't see you. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't listen. And you stop trying to make someone love you when their heart was never ready. Self-value makes you walk away from anything that threatens your peace. And that walk alone elevates the kind of love you attract. Many of you have settled in relationships because you were afraid that better wouldn't come. You tolerated behavior that broke you slowly. You accepted apologies without changed behavior. You carried relationships on your back, hoping that one day the man would finally meet you halfway. But none of that is a reflection of what you deserved. It was a reflection of what you believed you deserved. When you raise the belief you have about yourself, you raise the standard for the love you allow into your life. When you know your worth, you become harder to manipulate because you no longer accept mixed signals as affection. You no longer see inconsistency as passion. You no longer accept emotional chaos as a sign of chemistry. You don't wait for a man to choose you. You choose yourself first, and that energy demands respect. Men feel it. Men respond to it. And the wrong men flee from it because they know they cannot get away with the bare minimum anymore. Self-value is not loud. It is not boastful. It is calm, powerful, and steady. It shows up as the confidence to say no when something doesn't feel right. It shows up as the strength to walk away from a man who keeps you waiting. It shows up as the inner knowing that you don't need someone to validate you in order for you to feel whole. When you value yourself, you don't cling to a man out of fear. You allow connection to flow naturally. And if it doesn't, you release it without destroying yourself in the process. And here is what you need to remember. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you believe you deserve. If you believe you deserve effort, you will recognize the man who gives it. If you believe you deserve consistency, you will never tolerate a man who disappears without explanation. If you believe you deserve honesty, you will refuse to be someone's secret. If you believe you deserve loyalty, you will not allow someone who treats you like an option to stay in your life. Your belief shapes your behavior, and your behavior shapes the love you accept. Many of you blame men for the pain you experienced, but the truth is, the pain continued because you allowed the wrong man to stay longer than he should have. Self-value protects you from staying in places where your heart cannot grow. It shields you from people who drain your spirit. It keeps you grounded in your truth, even when your emotions try to pull you towards someone who is not good for you. Self-value is not about being perfect. It is about being aware of your needs, aware of your boundaries, aware of your emotional limits. When you know your worth, you stop trying to prove yourself to a man. You stop trying to earn love that should be freely given. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You stop giving unearned loyalty to someone who has not shown you the same. Instead, you allow love to meet you at the level you hold yourself. A man who sees your worth will step up, not pull you down. A man who wants you will put in effort, not excuses. A man who values you will bring peace, not confusion. And the most beautiful part is this: when you begin to value yourself, you naturally attract people who see that value too. You attract men who respect your boundaries, who admire your confidence, who appreciate your heart instead of exploiting it. You attract connections that uplift you, not drain you, because your energy becomes aligned with the love you deserve, not the love you fear losing. Your self-value is your filter. It is your shield. It is your guide. It is the force that determines whether you settle for less or wait for more. And once you rise into that version of yourself, the wrong men lose access, the right men rise to meet you, and the quality of your relationships transforms forever. Here is the 6th keynote explained into around 800 powerful, emotional, audience-addressed words, with no heading, no conclusion, and full stops and commas throughout, exactly in the style you requested when a man truly likes you. One of the hidden signs that often goes unnoticed is how he becomes protective of your emotional space, not in a controlling way, but in a way that shows he genuinely cares about how you feel, what affects your heart, and what shapes your inner world. Yet many women miss this because they are too focused on what he says instead of how he acts. And today, I want you to hear this with all your attention because it will change the way you read a man forever. When a man is into you, he does not just ask about your day to fill time. He asks because your peace matters to him, because your happiness is something he watches without even realizing he is watching, because what hurts you starts to matter to him on a level he didn't expect. And you will feel it in the small questions he asks, the ones that reveal that he has been paying attention even when you thought he wasn't. When he asks if you got home safely, that is not a routine question. It is a sign that your safety is now part of his thoughts. And when he checks if you ate, it is not because he thinks you cannot feed yourself, but because care has started to bloom in him like a quiet instinct that pulls him toward your well-being. And when he asks why you looked tired the other day, it is not judgment. It is concern born from emotional investment. You will notice it too in how he responds to your emotions, because if you tell him something upsets you, he listens with presence instead of brushing it off. And he asks follow-up questions, not because he is trying to fix everything, but because he wants to understand the world that exists inside you, the world you carry behind your eyes every day. And this, more than anything else, is a powerful sign of genuine interest. When a man likes you, he becomes curious about your emotional shifts, those tiny changes that most people overlook. But he catches them because something inside him is slowly aligning with you, paying attention to you, feeling drawn toward you in a way he does not show openly but cannot hide completely. And this curiosity is not shallow, it is not forced, it is not fake. It is the kind that makes him remember the things you mention in passing, the things you said once and forgot, yet he brings them up later because they stayed in his mind long after the conversation ended. You might not even notice at first, but you will feel the difference between a man who asks from politeness and a man who asks from interest, because politeness fades after a minute, but interest lingers in the energy he brings into your space. It shows in the tone of his voice when he asks if you are okay. It shows in the way he pauses to listen for the answer. It shows in the way he shifts his body as if preparing himself for any emotional weight you might place in his hands. What you must understand, and what so many people forget, is that emotional attentiveness is one of the strongest indicators of genuine attraction, because anyone can give compliments, anyone can flirt, anyone can pretend for a little while, but a man cannot fake consistent emotional attunement. He cannot fake caring about your comfort, your stress, your joy, your triggers, your boundaries, your stories, your fears, your hopes, your healing, your laughter, your silence, and the pieces of you that you do not show to many people. When he likes you, he will start mirroring your emotional tone without realizing it, meaning when you are sad, he softens. When you are excited, he becomes brighter. When you are overwhelmed, he becomes calmer. And when you are quiet, he becomes patient. And this mirroring is nature, not calculation. It is instinct, not strategy. You will find that he asks emotionally intelligent questions, not because he studied them, but because caring makes people attentive. And when he is into you, your emotional reality begins to matter to him in ways he cannot hide. And if you look closely, you will see how he becomes protective not of your physical space alone, but of your emotional dignity. Meaning he avoids saying things that might hurt you. He tries not to make you feel embarrassed. He cares about how his words land on you.